Hello and welcome to Clearview Television. We are reaching you live from Nigeria's capital city, Abuja. The headlines. Ex-aide to former President Goodluck Jonathan, Reno Omokri, slams President Muhammadu Buhari over his medical trip to the United Kingdom. Chief Justice of Nigeria Tanko Mohammed appeals to members of the Judiciary Staff Union of Nigeria, JUSUN, to call off their industrial action. Djibouti's President Ismail Omar Guelleh to extend his two-decade rule of the tiny Horn of Africa nation. I am Nkiru Obuli with the details. Reno Omokri, ex-FA to former President Goodluck Jonathan, has again slammed President Muhammadu Buhari over his medical trip to the United Kingdom. Omokri and some Nigerians had earlier staged a protest at the Nigeria House in London against the president, who is currently in London for a medical checkup. He has also, in several Twitter posts, questioned the decision of the president to have himself treated in London after reportedly failing to build a single hospital in Nigeria and embark on a foreign medical trip. The state of healthcare delivery in Nigeria is back on the front burner. This comes as the ongoing strike embarked upon by the Nigerian Association of Resident Doctors, NARS, is far from being over. So, what ought to be done to revamp the Nigerian health sector? Clearview TV crew, led by Mercy Eke, was on the streets of Abuja to get the views of Nigerians on the vexed issue.
President Muhammadu Buhari, while delivering a lecture at Chatham House in London on February 21st, 2015, asked his audience several questions that needed genuine answers from Nigerian leaders. Among the key questions was why should a Nigerian president go for medical treatment abroad if he cannot make hospitals in the country functional? This key question and many others raised by Buhari shortly after he was elected president was a buzz in various social media platforms last week when the president again returned to London for one of his numerous medical checkups since being sworn into office. This prompted Clearview TV crew to take to the streets of Abuja City to sample the views of Nigerians on whether or not President Buhari's latest medical trip is that of a promise kept. This is more so against the background of the ongoing strike by resident doctors in the country.
If doctors abroad are on strike, what would have happened to him? If the doctors here are on strike, is it not better for him to come and settle his home and make the medical line improved so that they will stop going to abroad and not leaving our doctors here to go on strike, and the patients are now dying in the hospitals and dying at home because of no care, no medical care.
Well, for me, I believe what he's doing is the right thing because everybody's on his own now. Nobody's governing anybody. So whatever you feel you can do it on your own. For Nigeria, there's something like Nigeria again. So we are on our own. That's all I know.
For Mr. President to travel out of the country, it could be because for the reason of his health or for the Nigerians as a whole. So for some Nigerians saying that Mr. President travel when we are in this situation, we are passing through this, and he travel out of the country. So I would say they don't know much about what they are saying.
Honestly, my take is that the president doesn't really care about the citizens. To be honest, he always think about himself. That's just the truth.
We are the giant of Africa. So I don't think like it's good for us, for our president to be flying abroad for a medical checkup, while here in Nigeria, the doctors are trying to go on strike. So I don't think this is something commendable, seriously.
If we're looking at the morality of it, it is wrong. But nobody should blame him for treating himself when he has the means of doing so. And what we are seeing in the medical sector is actually rot upon rot upon rot that has built for decades. It's not something that can be cleared within one administration or two administrations.
Shortly after arriving in London last Tuesday, Nigerian residents in the UK protested at the Nigerian House, demanding that he returns to Nigeria and be treated in one of the hospitals he believes his administration has provided for the people who elected him into office. How this unending protest against President Buhari's unending medical trips abroad will impact on Nigerians' health system in the short term and long term remains to be seen.
From Nigeria to Italy, the former Italian Prime Minister Silvio Berlusconi has been hospitalized for the second time in 2 weeks, a source within his Forza Italia party said. The flamboyant 84-year-old billionaire and media tycoon has been at Milan San Raffaele Hospital since Tuesday afternoon. Berlusconi arrived for a checkup and doctors decided to keep him in order to conduct more tests. The hospitalization was also announced by one of Berlusconi's lawyers during a hearing in Milan linked to his long-running Bunga Bunga sex scandal. The hearing is part of the latest prong of the investigation into Berlusconi's relationship with an underage girl, Karima El Maghroug, dubbed Ruby the Heart Stealer. The probe involves alleged payment to witnesses by Berlusconi to buy their silence over his so-called Bunga Bunga parties involving El Maroug and other women. Berlusconi, who has dominated public life in Italy since the 1980s, has had a string of health problems in recent years. In January, Berlusconi, who had open heart surgery in 2016, was admitted to a hospital in Monaco for health problems. Last September, he was hospitalized for 11 days for COVID-19. The Kogi state government has finally commenced the vaccination of residents against COVID-19 in the state. This comes 1 month after the Nigerian government launched the exercise with the vaccination of 4 frontline health workers in Abuja on March 5th, 2021. Kogi is the last of the 36 states of the Federation and the Federal Capital Territory to commence the vaccination exercise. Speaking at the event to flag off the exercise, the Commissioner for Health in Kogi State, Haruna Saka, assured the residents that nobody will be deprived of taking the vaccine jab. He stated that the state government has resolved not to compel any individual in Kogi to take the vaccine, stressing that it would only be administered at individuals' request. The commissioner disclosed that the state government received about 16,900 doses of the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine, adding that another Vice President Professor Yemi Oshibado has decorated Osman Al-Ali Baba with the rank of Inspector General of Police. The decoration ceremony held at the Vice President's Conference Hall at the State House in Abuja. Those present at the event include the former IGP Mohammed Adamu, the Secretary to the Government of the Federation Bas Mustafa, the Minister of Police Affairs Megarit Ngyadi, Senior Special Assistant to the President on Media and Publicity Malam Garba Shehu, and his colleague in the Office of the Vice President Laolu Akonte. Also present was the Permanent Secretary, State House, Tijani Umar, and the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Police Affairs. President Muhammadu Buhari had earlier on Tuesday approved the appointment of Usman Ali Baba as the acting Inspector General of Police. The Minister of Police Affairs, Megari Ngyadi, who disclosed this to State House correspondents at the Presidential Villa Abuja, said that the appointment was with immediate effect. The acting IGP replaced Mohammed Adamu, whose tenure expired February 1, 2021, but the president extended his tenure for 3 months. Until his appointment, Usman Ali Baba was the Deputy Inspector General of Police and will be in acting capacity pending his confirmation by the Senate.
The police must now rebuild, in some ways also, the broken bridges of trust with the public and regain the confidence of the citizenry. This is an ongoing challenge, it's an ongoing task that the police force and all of the senior members of the police force must take on as a responsibility, that of the continual process of building trust with the Nigerian public. One of the ways it can do this is by implementing the community policing policy, which had already taken off, and reconceptualizing policing as a task carried out in partnership with local communities who are members of these localities. Under your leadership, the force must live up to all of the highest standards of professional conduct and compliance with the rule of law. It must significantly improve the welfare and working conditions of its officers while rapidly scaling up its forensic, logistical, and operational capacities to meet today's challenges. You must stamp out the excesses and abuses and the culture of impunity demonstrated by some elements of the force which provoke public outrage against the institution.
The outgoing Inspector General of Police, Mohammed Adamu, has officially handed over the mantle of leadership to his successor, Usman Al-Ali Baba. The transfer of power and order was held in a brief ceremony at the force headquarters in Abuja Wednesday, April 7, 2021. Al-Ali's appointment means he is the 21st indigenous Inspector General of Police Nigeria has had. Now, President Muhammadu Buhari has announced that DIG Osman El-Ali Baba as acting Inspector General of Police with immediate effect. The Minister of Police Affairs, Megarit Ingiadi, confirmed this to State House correspondents in Abuja. Buhari had on February 4th extended the tenure of Muhammad Adamu as the Inspector General of Police for 3 months, and Adamu has spent 2 months and 3 days. Clearview TV, in its investigative style, believes that Nigerians should set agenda for the new IGP in the wake of increased cases of kidnapping, banditry, and all other forms of crime. Our reporter, Mercy Eke, was on the streets of Abuja to collate the contributions of some Nigerians.
I don't really believe that it is the change of the dramatic personnel that is the most important thing. But I want to believe the most important thing is people that will have the political will to be able to deliver according to the mandate that is actually given to them. You're asking me the difference the present IG will make vis-a-vis the previous one. Well, to me, let me not actually judge him by the capacity or the inefficiency of the previous person. I want to believe that he's a credible person. For somebody who has actually risen to the pinnacle of his career in the service, shows precisely that he must have gotten a good pedigree that will be able to lead the police force in this nation. But he's coming to meet myriad of security challenges. But the question we need to ask is, to what extent will the appointment of a new IG, to what extent will it actually have some degree of meritocracy that will be brought to bear in the security architecture of this nation? Well, I wish him good luck.
The new IGP is a marvelous person. And beginning of his service, he has been performing very well. And he's a person who doesn't tolerate any calamity. So he doesn't tolerate any fraudulent, criminal, bandit, whatsoever, etc. IPOB member, all those kind of things. He doesn't want it. So Nigeria is one. And the new IG is going to perform better to prove himself, because we discover him to replace, after the retirement of a former IGP, to replace him. So it's going to be performed better. My advice to him is to focus, to be vigilant, to know what's going to happen all over 36 states. He should disburse, he should change all the commissioners all over the 36 states. And anyone who doesn't want to work, bring them to office. Those who want to work, he should send them to he should send it to the state to go and scrutiny and all the states. Whoever do anyhow, it will see anyhow. So this is our regime. We don't tolerate nonsense.
I don't have any advice to the new IGP because I know we will still go the same way. If there's no police reform, even if they like change IGs 20 times a day, the same system will still be there. If you change IG today, change IG tomorrow, change IG next tomorrow, it's still the same thing.
This is one of the greatest thing I would say this administration has done, because the past IGP is just a total failure. He doesn't have any direction, and he's an agent of division based on the statement he's been making. And I believe the government the step they take is the right direction, and it's commendable.
Still on the police, the Minister of Police Affairs, Mohammed Megarit Ingyadi, has inaugurated the Police Public Complaints Committee. Ingyadi, at the inauguration of the 10-member committee this Wednesday in Abuja, pointed out that the Police Public Complaints Committee of the Ministry of Police Affairs is a fallout of the effects of the October 2020 NSAS protests. Clearview TV Marisa reports that the idea was put together or put in place as a permanent structure that will nip in the bud civil unrest across the country.
Sad memories of the recent nationwide NSAS protests are still lingering and fresh on the minds of many Nigerians. A peaceful protest which was later hijacked by hoodlums that got many public and private properties looted and burnt down. This led to the federal government directive that the 36 states of the federation set up judicial investigating panels to receive complaints from aggrieved Nigerians. While reacting to the new committee, the permanent secretary of the Ministry of Police Affairs, Temitope Fashedemi, said the reason for the committee is to ensure justice for Nigerians.
To help to revamp the police as a public institution and to ensure the protection of fundamental human rights of our citizens. The Nigerian Police Force, as a public institution, is in place to serve the people. Therefore, those that have been lucky to be recruited to man all public institutions that are paid for public funds have to ensure that they are citizen-centered in their approach at all times, and they must operate within the ambit of the law.
While the Ministry of Police Affairs said the Police Public Complaints Committee is created as a specialized institution to deal strictly with public complaints against police personnel.
Indeed, if the PPCC had been inactive, it would have provided adequate channel through which affected Nigerians would have been ventilating their grievances on police brutality, and the strategy which befell the nation late last year might have been averted. This administration is therefore determined that such ugly instances would never occur again.
He charged the committee members to be transparent so as to give confidence to Nigerians that their complaints will be attended to by a fair, just, and equitable system. Other components of the committee include Police Service Commission, Ministry of Justice, National Human Rights Commission, Nigerian Police Force, among others. Niji Maraisa, reporting for Clearview Television.
It's now time for a quick break. We'll return with more news. Please stay with us. You're welcome back. In a bid to solve the security challenges in the country, the Nigeria Civil Security and Civil Defense Corps has launched 17 private security guards. Commandant General of the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps, Ahmed Abubakar Audi, this Wednesday in Abuja, presented the license to the private security agencies and charged them to share intelligence to assist in finding a lasting solution to security challenges in the country. Clearview TV's Nima Isa, who was at the event, now reports.
The 17 private security